Everything looks good.
Hey.
Look at that. Things are happening.
Right, and the it's not being jarring.
Yeah. It's
Where
looking
earlier
good.
it was like dit.
Yep.
Yeah, I could actually tell it was moving because it was going.
Yeah, I was like,
Right.
are we moving? And it was like, oh no, we're not moving either.
Yeah.
It's just broken.
Yep.
It's just a lag meter now. It's a background lag meter.
Well, I was going to ask y'all about that. Like, so I was going to basically keep the same square layout and just have us more like cinematic widescreen right now. This will entirely change once we move, so maybe I should just wait until we.
We should just wait till we move. Just wait till
Well, I
we
was thinking because we're gonna still need something around the background. I was thinking maybe like kind of a Star Wars, Star Trek, fucking flying through space thing, like of just the stars running by, because I could just make that loop.
a Windows 95 screensaver.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly that.
I mean, I could.
We should change it up every week, and some at least we'll have the flying
I was gonna
toasters.
say flying toasters, flying eyeballs. Fucking...
The id one where you're just in the little like doom maze.
All right, pull up the chat so that we can.
Oh yeah. What about the one that's the tunnel that keeps making itself?
All right, Brooklyn, what do you see here,
where's the
my
chat?
dude?
It was another window.
Oh, I closed it. I mean, I can literally just go open it up again. Hey!
All right.
So y'all can see us and hear us now.
Hi, everybody. Man, we had some
Yay.
technical
We just got louder
difficulties.
whenever we said hey. It was
Yeah.
fucking-
Hello, internet. We finally got everything working.
All right, switch back to this.
Brooklyn, we were asking the question while we were away that are you even really a professional streamer if it doesn't take you at least 5 tries to get your Steam working every single time?
Yeah.
There.
All right.
That's the one I was looking for, I think.
We're alive.
Are we, though? Are we really?
Fortunately, yes. It's been a long goddamn day.
It has been.
It's only going to get longer this week, too.
At least.
All right. There we go.
At least. I should probably take a sip of this. At least I got a little bit more sleep than what I had this morning. So
That's good.
Yeah.
No, dude, I went to sleep at like 1:30. Woke up at like 6. My body was just like, "You're awake." I literally just woke up. I was like, "Hi."
Well, shit.
Well, I guess this is now what
Where
I am.
is Wolf seeing us from?
That is from YouTube's.
YouTube. Okay, got it.
YouTube.
Got it.
Oh, nice.
Currently
Yeah.
hosts 100% Blasphemous. That's
Yeah.
excellent. What did I play this? I played Hearthstone. That's what I was going to talk about. I played Hearthstone.
I played a lot of the
What the hell
Modern
did I do
Warfare
this week?
beta.
We'll start with Hector, and then you can just think about it.
And pretty much whatever Hector says, we're like, "Yep, I did that. I
Mine,
did that.
mine
I
was
did
Spider-Man, Titans, Hearthstone. All right, let's do this thing. What happens when Steam allows you to resell your games? Adventurers, gear up for an all-new episode.
that." Sure, that looks fun. I mean, I
Perfect.
didn't hear it in my headset, but
Should be all right.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
hey,
With us, as always, is our third chair host, Hector.
Howdly doodly.
If you're new to the show, hey, welcome. This week we're going to be talking the possibility of reselling your Steam library back to Steam. But before that, we have all the news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com, where you can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
I don't know why. Like whenever you stumbled, you got a lot quieter.
That's probably
Like,
my...
you can see like how much quieter you went. You were like, and now
That was
we're
probably
quiet.
and
this is the end.
unconscious mind because
Yeah,
I caught
just-
myself stumbling, and so I dialed it back.
Yeah, I was about to. I was going to ask, do you want to do another take of it,
Ah,
or
just-
I'm
Okay.
sure it sounds fine.
We're
Yeah, it's not really that big of a deal.
We're good.
All right, so let me mute that one, and then we click record. Prelude.
All right, this is a prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, and what has been occupying our free time. Tony's still trying to figure out what he did this week, so Hector, why don't we start with you?
Let's see. What can I remember?
My
You
problem.
always keep a list.
I have a list, but it's very short this week because I didn't do a lot for some reason. I've been getting home later lately, so I just kind of get home and do some chores and go to bed. It's actually really boring. I did finally manage to finish season 3 of A Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
And
Do you feel okay afterwards?
No, Jesus. Yeah. I had a really great conversation with someone last weekend on this very topic. She was telling me, like, she's tried to get through the first episode about 3 times.
Yeah.
And she just never quite makes it. And what she realized is, like, look, it's a great show, and I recognize that it's a great show. I just don't want to feel this way.
Right.
And she was saying it as a compliment, as a testament to the show. And that was good. And yeah, phenomenal.
I'd like to put a pin in that particular thought because we're going to be talking about Watchmen here in a little bit. And I feel like that is going to have some weight and some relevance to it.
For sure. Let's see. What else did I do? I started a great show on Amazon called Fleabag. It is a British comedy, very BBC-esque, so like very short seasons, about 6 episodes a season, about 30 minutes an episode or a little less. But it's one of the fucking funniest things I've seen in a long time. Probably the funniest thing I've seen in live action in a very long time. All of the most funny shows lately are cartoons. And over the weekend, I played far too much of the Modern Warfare beta.
Yeah, so how is it?
It's phenomenal. It's the best
How
Call
many
of Duty I've
microtransactions were you hit with?
0. I mean, it's a beta, so good.
Yeah.
But I didn't really even see an opportunity for any. When it comes, it'll probably come in the form of cosmetics, which, I mean, there was not a single cosmetic in the beta.
Right.
There was not a skin for a gun. The most you could do was pick from like 5 models on whichever team you were.
Because I keep hearing these rumors, like they're saying the new Modern Warfare is like true to form, old school, like COD. It's exactly what you liked in the original Modern Warfare.
Yeah, it feels a lot like original Modern Warfare in all of the best ways. The guns feel weighty and, meaty. All of the sound feels the same way. Yeah. Incredible design top to bottom. But what really impressed me, and I think we're going to talk about this later, is the crossplay.
We actually don't have it in here, so you can drop it now.
Okay, so while playing on PC, I hit, join me to the next random game, just quick play, and it would, let me select which modes I wanted it to try and join and not try to join. But it was just, I loaded it up. I'm like, beta, quick play, yeah, let's get into this. Click it, and the server populates with people that I'm going to play, like it would in any Call of Duty game. But next to everyone's name is a little icon. There's an X for an Xbox, there's a little PlayStation logo for PlayStation, and there's a cute little box that looks so vaguely like a PC for a PC. And next to them all is either a mouse or a controller. So on PC, you can definitely be playing with a controller, and on either console, you can definitely be playing with keyboard and mouse.
This is bold.
I feel personally attacked by this.
If they hadn't told me with the icons
if
what was happening,
the icons weren't there?
I would not have noticed.
You really could not tell the difference between people playing on keyboard and mouse, people playing on
no, because they were all together.
Controller.
I didn't. You know what? If I had to join a crossplay lobby, and if I had the option to switch back and forth, I probably would have, and then noticed, and then developed a lot of shitty opinions about who's better at what. Yeah. But instead, everything was just together.
This will be a really interesting experiment. Not only because, first off, crossplay huge, right? Us as gamers have all been wanting everybody to be playing together.
Yeah.
We have all the consoles represented that are going to be hosting this game.
We've been wanting this, but we've been specifically saying maybe PvP is where we don't want it, though.
Right, but it works seamlessly.
This becomes a new metric, though. What happens when the #1 Call of Duty player in the world uses a controller?
Right.
What happens then? These arguments, these walls that we've built up, and these that we've had for years, saying that this is better than this because we're nerds and that's exactly what we do every single time, then goes to the wayside.
Yeah.
It will. If it happens, it will be a glorious day, I think, because we could just stop fucking having that argument.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting time to watch this develop because there was voice chat. You did hear people bitching back and forth about oh man, you really playing this game on a PC? What's wrong with you? Stuff like that. You heard all kinds of stuff. But everyone was really mellow. And because of how huge the player pool was, considering both consoles and the PC had the beta at the same time, I never waited longer than about 3 seconds to connect to a match.
That's cool.
It was insane.
That's really good.
I dig that.
I'm really interested in this because recently Destiny brought in its crossplay, and and that's just where you can bring your character with you.
Right.
You can't necessarily play with the same people. And I went over to PC and I brought my controller with me. I could play on my keyboard and mouse, but I don't have that muscle memory because I've been using a controller for fucking 4 years. So I plugged that in and we were playing raids and Crucible stuff, and I'm sucking just as much as I would if I was playing on my
I
console.
tried to go back to Street Fighter recently with the controller, and I just felt like I was derping myself. I was like, it should be a smoother experience.
Yeah.
But I've gotten so used to my fight stick.
Yeah, that's how I feel when I try and play on a fight stick. It's like I know how these things work, but I can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, no, and it really comes down to muscle memory and what you're good at. And this is going to be another case where we can finally start showing, hey, it doesn't matter what tools you're using, it's how you can use those tools.
Right. Never forget that it is a game, and the more you gamify it, the better you'll be. It's not really about
now to that same end, I'm sure if I could just plug in a Sega Genesis 6-button controller, I could just destroy everybody at Street Fighter.
Probably, yeah.
That was like my longest running Street Fighter controller was just my Genesis.
I'm pretty sure they have like a USB one of those you can totally get.
Right.
If not, we know people that can make you a USB one of those.
Probably. Tony, what'd you do this week?
The one thing I can definitely remember was watching Annabelle Comes Home.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And because
Spoilers, did she come home?
Yes, because this movie takes place whenever they brought her home. Not a spoiler. That's where the very first time you're in their house, you see Annabelle in a fucking glass case, and they put a lot of attention. They're like, "There's a doll in there," and you're like, "Okay."
From the outside, since I still haven't gotten into the series, even though you guys have mentioned it about a trillion times. What's the story here? Annabelle is a doll, I'm guessing.
Annabelle is a possessed doll.
Yep.
This
Okay.
is her fourth standalone movie.
We don't really count the first
There
one.
are 4 standalone movies about a Jonathan Coltoon song.
We don't count
Sure.
the first one.
The first one wasn't that great, but since then they've been wonderful.
So this character isn't just like randomly created. He wasn't just created for the movies. There were the people who were behind the Amityville stuff, the investigators. These stories in The Conjuring are actually the other things that they did that weren't the Amityville.
Gotcha.
So the Conjuring series and the Annabelle series and the Nun, this is all the other stuff in their universe that when they wrote those books and saying like, oh, paranormal phenomena exists. So they simply took those stories, concepts they had written and then translated them.
These are
Annabelle,
people taking those stories that were made up, making up new stories about those made up stories, and it's all not real.
Because I know the Annabelle stuff has been really popular since it started coming out.
Yeah, you can actually look up the picture of the Annabelle doll online. It doesn't look anything like the movie. It's actually just a Raggedy Ann doll that they called Annabelle.
Okay.
Yeah,
So.
and and the one thing I still love about it is because James Wan is the one that's like spearheading this. Whenever he made the Aquaman movie, there's an Annabelle in the movie, and you're like, that's fucking Annabelle, and you're like, oh shit, that means all of the demonology things that are in that house are now let loose again.
I'm suddenly way less scared of the Annabelles of the world when I've got Aquaman standing behind me.
Well, you should watch these movies and maybe find out. No, so this movie takes place right whenever they bring Annabelle home.
Okay.
Like they bring Annabelle home, they put her in a case, and then they go off for the weekend, solving fucking whatever crime
They go in
was.
the Scooby van and do things.
Yeah,
So they bring her home as an evil artifact?
Yes,
Okay.
they have a room of.
They
We didn't explain that part. They have it
Okay.
in their house. They have a room of evil artifacts that they get blessed every weekend. That's locked up, except for whenever
This is an actual thing
this
that
is
happened.
actual
yes.
thing. Except for when the stupid fucking teenage babysitter lets her friend over, and her friend decides to go into the room and fuck with everything. Because you totally need to go in the room with all the possessed demon toys.
Yeah, room should have a lock on it.
It did. Imagine that. She just figured out where the key was. Fucking. So she lets Annabelle kind of loose. She's like, "Oh, what's that? I'm gonna go poke it with my fucking finger," and forgets to lock the door, and bad things ensue.
Did you enjoy the movie?
I did enjoy the movie.
Okay.
There's one plot line in it that really just didn't really need to be there. There's a guy that shows up. There's like a ghost demon dog thing that's like literally does not need to be in the story. If you got rid of that, you would eliminate maybe 15 minutes of the movie, and it would just be a lot smoother. Don't add a love interest when there's no fucking reason to have a love interest to Hollywood. It's fucking stupid. It's bad storytelling.
It's a way to fill out your
Spoilers, Annabelle gets a love interest in this movie.
script. Finally.
Yeah, I know, right? After 4 movies, she thinks so.
She wants to get that Dolly D.
Yep. Anything else you did this week, Tony?
They did a Chucky thing.
I was going to watch Chucky. In fact, I started watching Chucky, and then I stopped watching Chucky and watched Annabelle, which is a much better movie about a possessed doll.
There you go. All right, let's see here. Over on my side of the world, I finally saw Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. I mean, what can I possibly say about that movie that hasn't already been said 5 million times?
You probably knew you were going to like it going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, hands down, had a great time.
Just give me
Like
all the Marissa Tomei.
everybody liked it. It's just really a shame that we're never going to have another good Spider-Man movie.
We don't know that. Everything is way up in the air.
Dude, Come on.
We'll see. So
That's what
we
they
also
said
have
about the entire MCU, dude. Come on, I mean, we're fine.
That's true. I played a little bit of Hearthstone this week. It's something that I play on occasion. I don't play it competitively. I don't buy a million packs or anything like that. Hearthstone actually had an expansion a while back, like the Kobolds and Catacombs, and basically it's a completely like RNG based, like you don't have to own cards to play it. You go in, it throws you a random deck, and you just play against these bosses, and you accrue power ups and things. And it's
Interesting.
And yeah, when you die, it all resets, and go ahead and do it again. And it's always been a lot of fun. And recently they put out a new expansion that I don't have the name of off the top of my head, but it's basically the same thing.
Okay.
Same concept, new heroes, new powers. All the things that I love, about this like random dungeon that's generated for you.
Yeah.
And you can sit down, and you can have a good time. Don't have to worry about spending $1 on it, and just enjoy playing Hearthstone and not playing it at a competitive level. So I really like that. The last thing that I did was I actually started. My girlfriend and I started Titans this week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that was
the DC
Universe show.
Universe show, yeah.
Yeah. So we started that, and I was, of course, very skeptical of the show because of the initial trailer. It seemed very edgelordy. And really, like, he's like, "Hey, fuck Batman," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, just tell me, Grayson, how you fuck Batman." But I decided I wanted to give it a little bit of a shot because my girlfriend was really into Teen Titans when she was younger, really into it, and that trailer basically made her break out in hives. And so I really
literally everybody break out in hives. I remember watching that thing. I walked away going, "Ugh, I feel gross now."
Right. And so, but I was like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. And I know nothing about Teen Titans. This is definitely her area of expertise over mine when it comes to comic book related things. And I was like, let's go in. You can explain to me who the people are, because normally that's like me. I'm like, I'll explain who the people are and what's going on. And she's like, nope, this is my show now, bitches. And she's like, so let's talk about Titans. And you know what? I'm about 5 episodes in, and it's not bad.
It's fine. It's kind
It's
of how I
fine.
felt the whole time I watched it.
It's not bad. Like, it's like right now we're watching a couple things simultaneously. So we've got The Boys, and so The Boys is sadly it just really outshines
Yeah.
Titans like by a lot. But
I would imagine that because the comic book for the Boys is going to be way better than the Titans.
right. But you know what? Titans doesn't feel like a bad time. It feels like a good, like, put it on in the background, like while you're doing something, playing some games or something. The characters are pretty well fleshed out. One of the things that I've read a few reviews that have been spoiler free for me, and I think one of the things they never seem to mention in there is that this story that they're presenting in Titans really feels at its core the story of how Dick Grayson's moves from becoming Robin to becoming Nightwing. Like it was very in that first episode, like everything felt like a lead up to like this is him trying to get rid of the Robin mantle and eventually wanting to become Nightwing.
Right.
And I just feel like maybe people are just missing out on that part of the story.
No, I mean, you're most of the way through the first season. That feeling you have, like this is going somewhere. Don't hold on to it too hard.
Look, it got a second season,
But it got a second season. More might be coming. I don't want to say it's a bad show. I think
they're getting their villain.
They're
Getting their main villain, which is Deathstroke the Terminator, is going to be showing up.
the cardinal sin that they made for me when they made Titans is that it wasn't great and it wasn't bad. It felt like a USA show.
I don't know, man. There were times I was just like, this just looks like a serviceable CW show right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I wasn't like
it's like not quite like the Flash level of quality, but about on par with like Black Lightning.
Right, and so the thing is, when with the production values, with the budget they had, even with a lot of the actors they have, I was going in expecting like maybe something Daredevil level quality.
Right.
So
But it was-
and instead I got
that's honestly their competition. Is
right, but
when you're
instead
going
I
to your
got-
own
But
streaming
this
platform.
is their first. Titans was their first outing, and I
True.
think they learned a lot of things from
Daredevil
season
was
one.
Netflix. I think we can see where quality lies.
The worst thing that I could ever say about an episode of Daredevil, which I never did, was that this feels a little bit like a serviceable episode of a CW show.
Okay, I can see that. But I'm gonna keep rocking with it for a little bit before I get a
You
final
can finish the
consensus.
season and you won't be sad that you did. You'll just be like, well, new season comes out. I'll look up when later.
Like in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's everything we have for Prelude this week. We're gonna take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our main news segment in the weekly raid.
You confused me there. I was like, we have a new segment. Wait, what are we doing? I'm not prepared for this kind of
I was
anarchy.
just trying to get into it because I saw what our time was running on.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is the best answer to the Daredevil. Like, where does that lie? It's like,
If I ever said, man, this episode of Daredevil sure feels like an episode of one of those CW shows, I would be pissing all over Daredevil.
But unfortunately, Daredevil's way better than that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll watch the new stuff. But before we move on, anyone in chat who's like, watch Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol's
That show
good.
is phenomenal.
I've yet to finish it, but I did very much
Yeah.
enjoy Doom Patrol.
It's not the DC thing. It was just Titans. It underwhelmed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... there's a cat. Yeah, Doom Patrol felt more like... It felt more like the Kmart of something that Netflix would have made.
Yeah.
It's like, it's nearly as good, but it's not... it's not JCPenney's.
I feel like they got away with more in Doom Patrol than they might have on Netflix, though, considering what they were doing.
It was a new platform and nobody knew about it.
Nobody gave a fuck,
Yeah.
and so they really
Archer,
just...
quit showing your butthole to the internet.
They really just
This is
kind of
Poop Loop.
let them do whatever they wanted. There you go.
Where are you going? There's nothing there.
Let him go up there. Let him do things.
Oh, he's a fucking idiot.
Okay, let's move on because I actually do have to check servers at a certain point tonight.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Did I click the thing? I did not click the thing.
Whoosh.
I could actually make that sound.
Just a whoosh sound.
He's just gonna be my pillow.
Is
Yeah,
he
he'll be good.
scratching the chair? Because it sounds like he's eating the chair. I can hear him eating it.
Can you not eat the chair?
Like,
Okay,
put it
it's also it's just the
It's the back claws.
yeah.
it's the him gripping it. So we're gonna have a weird thing in the background of the audio until he gets down.
Oh, it's all right. The internet loves cats,
boy.
or so I've been told.
I don't know, I did watch Game Over Greggy's fucking podcast thing, and they have fucking just like traffic going by in theirs the whole time. It's like, wow, you pay for recording space and it sounds like shit. You're a pro at literally paid to do this.
All right, let's go.
The Weekly Raid.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Weekly Raid. It is our news roundup for the week. And speaking of CW shows, let's open this up this week talking about who else is joining Crisis on Infinite Earths. At this point, I can't sit here and list to you everybody who's going to be joining the CW crossover because it would take literally the entire episode. Just know that Erica Durance and Tom Welling from Smallville are going to be reprising their roles in this CW crossover.
Like, I don't even know what to expect anymore. At this point, they could tell me, well, Keith David's in it as a live-action version of Goliath the Gargoyle, and I'd be like, okay, that's fine.
Honestly,
I was ready for that.
I'm
Surprisingly.
secretly waiting that they're not going to announce it, but in the show is actually going to be the Winchesters from Supernatural.
They show up.
They're just be like, by the way, we were in the same universe the whole time. Yeah, I'm literally expecting that where they can just do every Vampire Diaries is showing up. Everything that CW's ever made is going to be in there.
Just Buffy shows up at some point.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, you remember this? It was called WB back in the day.
Either way, we say it every week. We're excited for this crossover, and it's
yeah.
cool to see more and more
Fucking
people.
December, hurry up and get here already.
Yeah, the new seasons start within like a week or two, don't
Yeah,
they?
they do.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of us moving.
Yeah.
New studio soon, guys. It's going to be fun.
Whole new problems with that setup.
Yeah, right? So, a few weeks back, we talked about this like little teaser that Marvel put out saying, like, 2099 is coming, and it had November listed on it.
And we were like, cool, we're getting Spider-Man 2099 back finally.
Yeah. So we now know the first bit of news is trickling out because Comic-Con's right around the corner. Venom 2099. This is an original property. There was never a Venom 2099.
Yeah, I don't remember
book.
Venom 2099.
Is going to be a book that's going to be coming out during this. It's going to have the Alchemex company that Venom fights very often involved in this particular issue. A lot of these are going to be one-shots, by the way. From what we see, they're kind of bringing back the 2099 titles and being like, hey, remember these? We're going to do like a really cool one-shot. Like they're going to do Ghost Rider 2099. They're going to have Doctor Doom 2099.
I think that my biggest problem with these is that it's very presumptuous of Marvel to think that humanity will last until 2099.
Yeah, like they could have thought that back when Spider-Man 2099 was
in the
first coming
90s.
out. Yeah,
and they weren't that far.
They were like, in the year 2099, there will be a dystopian future, and we're like, 2019, guys.
yeah, no.
that's next week, dude.
Yeah. Where all the bees will be dead in like 5 years, right? Like 2099's a while from now.
And then, of course, you come to nobody's surprise that Spider-Man 2099 is going to be coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I expected that. Honestly, it could have been cool if they brought in all these new 2099 titles and built up the universe more, and then at the very end
Well, they had to scrap it and redo it, and now it's all just kind of a Mad Max crossover.
When I hear one shots in this kind of situation, I'm like, this is a testing the waters. You're going to test it, put it out, and see who buys.
Yeah, they're putting out. They're going to put out like 5, maybe 6 issues of different stories.
Yep.
See what sticks
Yep.
out of those characters, and then that's what they're going to make more of.
I would not be surprised whatsoever if they do that. All right, let's move out of comics and talk about horror movies because it's just that time of year, right?
It is that. It's exactly that time
every
of year.
Part of the year.
I started my shit already with my fucking new Annabelle.
Yeah, no,
movie.
I need to start. I need to get on the horror movie train. Fast.
Honestly, there's this wonderful series called The Conjuring. There's like 12 movies at this point, I think. There's not that many.
And we are going to be doing a movie night here soon.
That's true.
Where we watch Event Horizon.
Okay, there's 9. I think there's
Ghosts.
9 movies in the Conjuring series for you to go into. No shit, maybe there's 10.
Okay, we need to discuss some actual modern horror here.
Yeah.
So Fede Alvarez, who created the wonderful Evil Dead remake that till the end of time I will not shut up about because it's so good, is going to be producing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Nice.
Okay.
Now he's the producer, but still, this man is like he knows horror. Like he knows horror, and like to take a beloved property, a beloved franchise like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and do something new with it is fascinating. Now
I like the last remake that they had of it.
Now we do not have details about what this is going to be about or where it takes place in the timeline or any of that stuff.
Or if it takes place in Texas.
What we have heard is that there are rumblings of people like inside of Hollywood saying that they're trying to push him in the direction of doing what they did with like Halloween, where it's a direct sequel to the first one.
Okay.
So there's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and then whatever this thing is.
So instead of old Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which was just like right out of the rails,
right?
Like going from weird horror to like the Clampetts Take Manhattan. I don't know what.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to push him.
Then we had the remake in the early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah, that was
the year it came out. And that one was a wonderful remake. In fact, it has some scenes that still stick with me to this day where I'm just like, that was fucked up.
Yep.
And honestly, if we're getting rid of those movies, that kind of sucks.
Right.
Because those movies were fucking good too.
So, what would be great would be a
get rid of the original sequel, or get rid of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and we keep all the other ones in the same universe.
Yeah. It could be a direct sequel to that one. I don't know, but I feel like it's kind of a hard horror movie to do wrong, but I'm glad that they've not been redoing it every 5 years, you know? Sure. So I'm about ready for a new Texas Chainsaw. That's fine.
And Fede Alvarez, I mean, like, just, you could slap his name on anything.
As a producer, I'm interested to see who he brings.
You could be like, Fede Alvarez, GoBots. And I'd be like, sure, it's not Transformers, but I'll go see it.
It's just, at this point, horror is so different to us. I mean, there's all kinds of gore genres, and there's, like, the real terror that comes with other horror movies, and they don't mix a lot these days. The really gory stuff is usually more for fun, so I can't wait to see how they make this scary.
It's literally just like an hour and a half of watching like the Texas Senate argue about bullshit, and that's the real
this
horror.
Real Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's the real one.
But you know what? I think it would be really cool if once it comes out to like Blu-ray or whatever. Not too far from where we live is a place called the Gas Station, and it's where the original gas station in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was filmed.
Yep.
It'll be really cool because they'll probably do like a movie night or something. Where they'll put like a big inflatable thing up. And
Alamo's going to do that. I can already tell Alamo's doing that.
So yeah, Alamo's doing it, but not at the place.
No, Alamo has the Rolling Road Show with the giant fucking inflatable screen where they set up crazy events like this. They just had fucking Top Gun playing here at the fucking Air Force Base thing nearby with Val Kilmer, and then they did another Val Kilmer movie the day before that. Out in one of the ghost towns near here,
because it was
showing Tombstone. Right. Alamo does crazy shit. I can guarantee that if this comes out and it's good, they're going to be doing this at the original location. And honestly, I wouldn't. It's Fede Alvarez. I expect him to get the director and the writing team to be like, dudes, we're just going to go there and film there again.
Yeah.
And everybody like, cool, we can do that. I mean, Robert Rodriguez has built up this area alone to have huge amount of people that create movies. The movie industry exists larger here than does basically any other city in Texas.
Yeah.
Why not just go to the real place? It's literally down the road. You've got all the crew you can grab from right here.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
expecting this to happen here. Like, if this
It would be
doesn't, I'm going
nice.
to be a little bit tilted.
Okay, so let's move from one horror film to another. I have some. I need to talk to you guys about this one.
Okay.
So Morgan, of course, most well known right now for Walking Dead. He plays Negan, does it absolutely fantastic. Is going to be the star in a Sam Raimi produced horror film called Shrine. The concept of the movie is that Shrine focuses on a disgraced journalist who discovers a series of seemingly divine miracles in a small New England town and uses them to resurrect his career. But the miracles may have a much darker source. That's the premise of the
Okay.
film.
And this is being directed by or produced
it's
by
being
Sam Raimi?
produced by.
Okay,
And
Sam
I know-
Raimi's produced a lot of shit that I like.
I know.
It's good people.
We just got done talking about Fede Alvarez producing like this Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Right.
And then I say Sam Raimi, and this is a conversation that we had this over the last week, Hector. Is
Mm-hmm.
I really had to ask the question: does Sam Raimi have the chops for horror anymore? Because it feels like he's just gotten weaker as the years
Mm-hmm.
have gone by, and I don't mean that to discredit him, but I mean like the last Sam Raimi thing anybody can think of is Ash versus the Evil Dead, and that was just a mess.
Yeah. After the first season, it really just lost the plot. My answer
It
to
ended,
you.
by the way, it ended really strong.
Oh, did it?
It basically ends with like an Evil Dead movie. Like the last two episodes are basically an Evil Dead movie. I'm like, where the fuck was this during the rest of this show? It actually got really
Yeah,
good.
I would watch.
No.
I would watch just a longer 2-part version of The Evil Dead, but the bits I did see of the show, I was like, no, this is awful.
Like he put all his budget and all his like it felt like effort almost into the last 2 or 3 episodes of the show, and it's just almost apocalyptic. The Deadites have awoken on Earth, and
Yeah.
shit's going crazy, and it was just like this is quality I can dig. Like this is Sam Raimi that I used to know.
Yeah.
But like.
I don't know. I feel like Sam Raimi still has the ability to create good things. I wouldn't let him direct anymore. If I were him, I would probably want to stop directing at this point.
He's kind of been told to stop directing by
Yeah.
Hollywood at this point, but he still produces good things, and he's produced quite a few good horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years. I don't have a list in front of me. I can't remember. I remember watching many ones when I was going, "Hey, Sam Raimi produced this."
Yeah.
So it means he had a level of involvement to decide where the story should go, who should be telling that type of story, and obviously kind of telling them, "By the way, you should probably shoot it this way."
Yeah, I mean, he still knows what's good when he sees it, and
Yeah.
he knows a good story when he sees it. He maybe just stay out from behind the camera.
Yeah, and it sucks that Spider-Man's the
And,
reason why that
I mean,
came
for
to
what
be.
it's worth,
but-
wasn't he the producer on the Evil Dead movie? Like
Yes,
Fede Alvarez
yes.
was the
Yeah.
director.
But he produced it a little bit. That he didn't want to produce it, but he was told that you have to produce this because if not, you're gonna look like a huge dick,
Right.
Because this movie's happening with or without you.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Watchmen. I know that we mentioned it earlier. This is a new HBO series that's going to be October 20th.
Oh, we have a date.
Yeah, October 20th is the release date
God,
for Watchmen.
That's so soon.
But it also seems like so far away because I need it now.
Yeah, it's
We-
good, like 4 weeks.
It's definitely a series that, as we've discussed the possibility of it, we've been on the fence. And now we're kind of leaning towards yes, we want to see it.
Yeah.
Because the concept is it takes place like in our time, whereas Watchmen, the graphic novel, took place in the 50s and also the 80s. But it also is an evolution. It takes place after the events of Watchmen. And we're like, ooh, that's you're stepping into some source material here that might upset some nerds.
Yeah.
And the more and more we're seeing about it, the more fascinating it seems. So, one of the things that was talked about in a recent interview with Damon Lindelof, who's the creator of the new Watchmen series, is said, of course, he said that he will be tackling a lot of real life issues. We talked about that last week. A lot of real life stuff is going to be bleeding into the politics of this show. But in the interview that he had over the last week, he talks about how he's trying to go into hot button topics, but not draw a distinct line of this is right or this is wrong. What they are trying to do with this script is make the watcher, you as the watcher, think for yourself. So when a situation is presented, instead of saying this is bad because liberals say this is bad or this is bad because conservatives say this is bad, you will take something away from it depending on what your own political stance is the way that they're trying to avoid moralizing it is what he's calling it. And
That goes more towards the premise of the original comic book, and then minus the very end of it where it got very preachy of the like humanity's fucked that part. I mean, up until that point, it was very. You got to see the blanket that was all the personalities and how humanity is flawed. And I
Right.
think that showing the flaws of humanity is more important than just saying like, oh well, we have to push this political agenda or this
Right.
one or whatever. We can just show basically the world's a piece of shit and superheroes aren't fixing things. Be your own superhero and fix your own fucking life.
Yeah, there was a lot of when looking back when I first saw The Watchmen, I saw it from a very shallow perspective.
Yeah.
because I saw the movie before I read the comic.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, it's like I was very, very much younger when I read the comic book.
I was
so
young
did
and
not,
impressionable.
I did
Yeah.
not understand the depth of the comic whenever I read it.
It was a very, very surface level watch for me the first time I watched it. It was all like, look at these people with these powers. Hey, nice boobs. Look at that spaceship. That's cool. I didn't really notice all of the underlying commentary
there's a lot of
on
nuances.
the nature of vigilantism and the nature of, lawlessness and what would it look like if we really did use these iconic characters as law enforcement for whatever we decided to point them at. I mean, it gets really fucked up, and the book is much, much deeper than that. It's all about the nature of time travel and how we view time. Anyway, without getting into all of that, this seems like that kind of vigilante level commentary.
Yeah.
Focused more succinctly on our actual police and how we see them.
Well, and we are now in this weird evolution because to kind of put some perspective on it, it took Marvel and DC creating these iconic heroes for us to get to a point in our society where we got kind of down on things and said, okay, so let's write something like The Watchmen or write something like The Boys.
Yeah.
Right? These are these
Deconstructing and breaking down
yeah,
these
right. Even Kingdom Come
stereotypes.
The,
Yeah.
the DC comic deconstructs these stereotypes and says, can these heroes even exist? And that's where we are, because if you think about it in terms of Hollywood, it's the exact same progression. We now have this superhero movie genre that Marvel has created and embedded in everything, and now people are going, cool, we've had a lot of great uplifting superhero films. Let's bring out The Boys and Watchmen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the things I also did. I
It's
went back
time.
and watched Endgame again.
Oh, nice.
And I still fucking, whenever Captain America he has the shield and he has Mjolnir, I fucking cry. 'Cause
Every
I'm
time.
like, God damn it, that's fucking amazing.
That's the coolest.
it's the coolest fucking moment.
I saw it in theaters twice. Cried both times. At that scene specifically, but at
that
other things
is
too.
such a disparity between that and like The Boys, which is completely the opposite. That's going, no, these guys are rapists and horrible and
Yeah.
disgusting, and they are just like the rest of us, and show you what life really would be like with
Yeah.
superheroes. And Watchmen kind of has that same level of like, no, people are just flawed. In fact, we only have one dude that actually has superpowers, and he straight up don't give a fuck about humanity.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just trying not to die with cool clothes on.
So when Lindoff was kind of asked about this and the kind of gray morality of the show, or the interpret it yourself morality of the show, he said that I feel like, unfortunately, we live in a space where hate runs rampant, not just on the internet, but in real life. And it's important to remind ourselves that this is a TV show. It's not real. Although it is dealing with real issues and it's meant to generate and provoke conversations and emotions, we have to contextualize that this is fiction.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. Like coming into this saying, like, yes, we want to be politically charged, but we don't want to have a bias because there's so much bias right now. Like you're either one side or the other. We want to make a space where anybody can watch our show and say, take away what they want to take away from it.
I feel like it's kind of telling that he would feel like he needed to talk about that. He's like, this is fiction. This isn't based on any real world events. I'm just writing what I see. Because I mean, when you think about stuff like,
Because I think it just goes because he's
What I
really
saw-
going to piss
yeah.
people off.
yeah, well, what I saw in the trailer looked kind of a lot like what we saw in Ferguson a few years ago, and the more we get into that, the more it's like this guy's just trying to piss people off.
Well, I mean,
It's like,
if you think about the character of Rorschach as what he was doing, of telling that story and being such a loner and so weird and, different from everybody else, and then you see him leaving that message for the future, who's going to read that message? Fucking 4chan's going to read that message. And because they feel the exact same way that he felt. If you just go back and just remember the movie, the dialogue he's spouting the entire fucking time. Who says that shit?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking rage nerds on fucking anonymous boards.
Yeah.
That's who that group is going to be. You can see where all this is moving towards the future. So you guys kind of go, hey, it's not really 4chan, but it's 4chan. you can see the correlations, and so you got to remember that like you're not going to agree with every side that you see in this, because it does try to show you I'm expecting it to be much like the original comics, show you what humanity actually is, and not
As a
just
whole,
what you want to see.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't have to spend too much time on this, guys, but we do need to talk very briefly about Anthem. You know, that
Okay.
game that actually came out this year. It's hard to believe.
This year.
Yeah, that came out this year, and for some reason, like 5 people still play it.
So, big news in the
can't believe
Anthem
that came
world.
out this year.
EA has this last week changed the roadmap for Anthem. They had a
Yeah.
big roadmap lined up.
They had acts coming out the same way we'd think of like DLC chapters.
Yeah, they had this big
Yep.
roadmap. They said we got to go back.
I was
guys.
originally looking forward to because I was like, oh, they gave us this long, probably kind of year-long roadmap of DLCs, of events that will be going on.
Yeah.
And then as I've still paid attention to a little bit of Anthem, as the time has progressed since I think February when it came out, none of those came out. One of them kind of did.
One kind of came out and was,
and everybody was like,
biggest
this is dumb. You
disappointment.
just
Yeah.
put a blue filter on the game and made a level hard.
So the big change to Anthem's roadmap, the big expansive roadmap they had for the years of the game's lifespan, is that they removed it. They just pulled it from their website.
Yeah.
They were just
Honestly,
like,
it's the best choice.
they were
Yeah.
like, and the reason for this, it's easy for us to kind of poke fun, but the people that are still, I'm assuming the janitor who's still working on Anthem was basically like, look, we have to fix the core issues of this game before we can even give you a roadmap of how DLC is going to work. Because if nobody wants to play it, then if the game's crap, then why would we make a roadmap?
But see, they're just gonna do so.
I mean, they can do what Bungie did
to,
twice.
and not to pull on Tony's chain and shit on Destiny at all, but when Destiny 2 came out with their Forsaken thing and wanted to charge like basically full price for another year of content when their last bit of content was already such disappointing shit, I was like hard no, and I've remained there. It's only lately when fans are coming back and are so much more happy with the game that I've been thinking, okay, you know what, I could pick that up again. Let's see what the next expansion looks like.
Right.
As soon as whatever Anthem does, if they bring out something that's, like we're changing everything about the game, we want people to come back and try it again. If they decide to charge me any money for it, I'm going to tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, it just feels like they're just pumping money into a broken house at this point.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. So,
Bungie had a vision and a livelihood,
Right.
and an investment in Destiny because it was their property. If you read the history of Anthem, like this was something EA shit out of BioWare.
Yeah.
All right, they were like forced to do a lot of things. They
honestly,
didn't want to do.
everything BioWare's made for like the last 10 years is something's been shit out of BioWare.
Pretty much everything since Mass Effect.
Well, let's
the
let's
last
not
Dragon Age
get into
was
nerd
okay.
semantics about where
What
the history.
year BioWare went under? They went under a long fucking time ago.
But at some point, there was an issue where, if you look at the history of Anthem and you go back and read the history of Anthem as it exists, and it'll be a fascinating read once it's done.
Yeah.
But basically, these developers were just forced into this situation where they're making this game that they didn't really have a clear
no,
roadmap.
it's style
themselves
alone.
to
It's
do.
style of storytelling. The type of game that it is something that is so unheard of for that studio to make. That studio was not designed to do that.
Yeah,
And
when you're out in the game world and when you're in the hub world, they feel like different games.
You're like, hey, Telltale Studios, why don't you make the new Wolfenstein game?
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, we can do that, but it's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be QuickTime events.
yeah. QuickTime events and I don't know, some cartoons.
Yeah, like that's
Lots of FMVs for some reason.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yes, it doesn't. Anthem, I'm happy that they're just saying, fuck it, we're just going to kind of stop this. I wish that they had done the same thing that Bungie had to do twice for Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. At the kind of 1 year mark, we're releasing a giant expansion and we're fixing it. Unfortunately, for
If you're
people like
gonna- if
Hector,
you're
you
gonna do this-
maybe will buy it. And I get your trepidation going forward for Destiny.
Yeah.
But now that you got people like me and a couple of our friends who are like, no, dude, the game's fucking great now.
My two
Play it.
opinions
But
about
no
this,
one's
though.
doing that with Anthem.
Yeah.
Because it's almost we're getting to that year mark sooner and sooner, and we've heard nothing about this magical update that could possibly fix the bones of the thing.
And I want
what you have to do is one of two things. You either scrap the game fucking completely at this point, or two, you do what Final Fantasy XIV did.
Yeah,
You have a
take it
world.
down.
You have,
Technically scrap the game completely.
You have a world-ending event that all the players who currently play or encourage people to come back and play the game for 1 week. Where they fight some giant boss and they get taken out. That's
they
impossible.
could put
to
a
beat.
red filter on it, just increase the size of the boss twice as much and give them twice as much health.
Right.
It's built into the game already.
But do you
Yeah.
know what Final Fantasy did after that happened? We all thought the game was dead.
Oh, yeah.
We heard nothing about Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, they shut the
and in
fuck
the
up
story
for
of
years.
Anthem, story of Anthem, you can totally do that. You can be like, well, the Earth went and everybody died, and then you had to get people back together again whenever the game comes out in a new, fresh one. Honestly, I'm for the Final Fantasy route on this point.
Oh, for sure. And I think the biggest difference between what Bungie did and what Anthem is doing is the people working on Destiny kept working on Destiny.
Yes,
the game had flaws, the games had problems, but all the same people were still working on it as they learned from their mistakes, as they got better at what they were doing. They
listened to the community.
Anthem, as soon as it wasn't making that fat microtransaction money on a brand new IP, they
EA
cut the
wrote it
team in
off.
half, and then they cut the team in half again, and then they cut the team in half again.
And now people are leaving.
Yeah, and people
Whereas
left.
Bungie threw money at the problem, said, listen to the fans, fix your shit.
No. The key thing that you are missing is that the only difference between these two is that Bungie cared and it was invested in their product. The people at BioWare feel that they were forced to make a game they did not want to make. They were not invested in their product.
And they've all moved on to Dragon Age.
Yeah, and that is true, because I would say I would completely agree if we can find out that EA forced them to make this, because Bungie making Destiny was entirely it was their story to begin with. They're the ones that scrapped it multiple times trying to get the story right, and they kind of never did. But they've fixed it since then. It makes sense now, and they've learned from those mistakes, because Bungie is more about being independent and being kind of left up to their own devices, to the point where they bought themselves out of both the contracts they've gotten into.
Yeah.
Which they could have just let run for a while and then let themselves naturally in. They said, no, we're going to throw money at that problem and make our publishers go the fuck away so we can do it on our own. Had BioWare started making those moves back when Mass Effect 2 came out, so they wouldn't have had to make the atrocity that was Mass Effect 3, or that other Dragon Age game that was really shit, or Anthem.
Inquisition was fine.
Tony doesn't like BioWare, so just let him have this one.
I'm fine with them. Maybe they wouldn't have had to make the stupid fucking Star Wars game MMO. There you go. There's another giant fucking failure that they produced.
I don't know. I hear it's still going strong. I mean,
do people still play that?
People play MMOs.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
and once you get addicted to one, that's the one you play.
People play EverQuest still.
People are talking about EverQuest Classic.
I mean, people are playing WoW Classic, and that still just baffles me.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started.
Literally text 5 people who are playing WoW Classic as we speak while we're recording this show.
It's disturbing. But yeah,
not okay.
But I feel like there's a very big difference here when you look at the history of games that have been rebooted. Because when you talk about, like I said, with Bungie, you had a team that was passionate about it. Final Fantasy XIV, Yoshi P, there's a reason he's basically a celebrity in the Final Fantasy XIV universe, because he took a game that was garbage, that Square was just going to just write off at that point. Like, well, I guess we fucked that one. I guess we're going to go back and just keep making expansions for 11. Yeah. And then he said, let me do it. And he sat there and babied and crafted the thing. And it was him and his team, and they did a thing. And they made it better.
That's the same thing that Bungie had. It had a group of people that cared.
Right.
And whether you... In the case of Final Fantasy XIV, where the all kind of got put on one person, which he didn't code that game by himself. No, he didn't do all that fucking art by himself.
There's a hierarchy to things like teams, and like the leader that wears the crown, heavy is the head, etc., etc.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of that's just how things are run. But he took that responsibility on, and he's a fucking rock star now. Like if he shows up on your server, literally everybody will just go to where he is. Because it's like, holy shit, it's Yoshi P. This is fucking awesome.
I want to mention 2 other games that have done, because this is a rare thing for games to do: come out, suck, and then come back stronger.
Right.
Rainbow Six did this, and the other one whose name For Honor both did this.
Division kind of did it too.
The Division 1 also did.
Division 1, Division 2 came out strong.
Weirdly, a lot of these are Ubisoft games.
But this is not a precedent that we need to be setting.
No, definitely not. What I'm saying is it's hard to earn that trust back from your fan base, but it's not unheard of. So Anthem could have a shot if they do something awesome, but
give them money and just shut the fuck up about
the problem
it.
With that
let them just tear the whole thing down. Tear it down.
The problem with Anthem's core fan base is they're Anthem's core fan base. They're not BioWare's core fan base. BioWare's core fan base looked at Anthem and said, "What the fuck is that?
Yeah, no
Why
thanks.
are you making that?" And they went, "We had to."
Have you met our boss?
Yeah. It's like, we're owned by another company, guys. We get told what to do, and I don't think that BioWare has the heart left in it. So many people have left.
Yeah.
And it's so taken over.
We're already not hearing great things about Dragon Age, which they're early in development on. So
it's
which they announced way too fucking early.
Well, because Anthem was failing, and they needed to be like, but we still do
look at this teaser. This red stripe going through this fucking screen. Dragon Age. Ooh, I'm sorry, your game's also going to suck because the studio's made nothing good for years.
It's like trying to start the hype train by throwing a piece of coal at it.
All right, let's move on. Really quick, I just want to talk about Netflix.
You start a forest fire that way.
Of course, getting into spooky season.
Oh, yeah. What is it? It's Netflix and chills?
And chills,
Dude, they're releasing like 8 movies and series during October alone.
Yeah,
So,
all horror.
This is not going to be released anytime soon. It is recently picked up from one of the weirdest sources in the world. Netflix took a Danish podcast called Equinox 1985. They're going to make a 6-part supernatural horror series out of it called Equinox. That will be the Netflix title of it. So here's kind of the weird byline of it. Equinox takes place in Denmark and follows a woman named Anna who is traumatized by the mysterious disappearance of a school class in 1999 when she was 10. 20 years later, she sets off to discover what happened to the class, and she finds out that she's the only survivor from, she finds out the only survivor from 1999 just mysteriously died.
Okay, that's. Oh, all right. So I have a couple questions about this. You might not know the answer to.
Yeah.
The Netflix is really big on buying a lot of international titles or making international shows right now, and I'm not opposed to that.
No,
like, I think it's
really
awesome.
Good things about Dark. I've never
Yeah,
watched
I
it.
still need to watch Dark. There's quite a few of them. I'm like, I need to watch this. It just requires me actually reading the screen, so I can't play and do anything else while I'm doing it. And that's not how I do things. So
we consume a lot of pop culture for this show.
yeah, there's so many things that we have to do multiple things at a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if it's going to be in Danish, that's awesome.
Right.
But I kind of want to know: are they doing this for the American audience, or are they doing it for the Danish audience? And I don't know what they're going to do with that.
They might dub.
It's still too early.
because the dubs of Netflix have all been very solid.
The dub of 3%. I need to go watch the most recent season. They just started 3, I think, and I've been asleep on it. I've been having too many other shit to go on.
Yeah.
Because it's another show that I actually actively pay attention to. Weirdly, I put the subtitles on, and I also put it on the dub, so you can see where the slight differences in language go, and you get a little bit more
I
interesting.
call that
story.
how I play video games.
Yeah, I have a hard time with dubs just because of voices obviously not matching faces.
Yeah, mouth flaps don't match.
No, it's not that. It's not that it's mistimed. It's that you look at a human being,
And
and
you're
if
like,
you
oh, that
looked at
voice does
me,
not come out
and
of
he
that.
sounds like this. I'm like, what did you guys do? Come on.
Yeah.
All right, so we do need to start wrapping things up here in the news segment, but we've got to talk about this Peacock Network thing. So this was an announcement.
Why?
that
No
was
one's gonna
made-
buy
it. It is.
I was going to say NBC is the Peacock network.
It is.
Yes, it is.
And
This is all my only knowledge of this.
Peacock is the name of their new streaming service they're coming out with.
They're trying a
That's
CBS
dumb.
All Access
The
move.
two of the first
Yeah,
shows.
It's also dumb.
So all the things that you figure will be on there will be on there. So SNL is going to be on there, The Office, Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
All the
Basic
shit they already have on
Joe,
Hulu.
Real,
And
yeah,
Netflix.
all that
Brooklyn
stuff.
Nine-Nine is on both of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of this stuff's going to get ripped off of there.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, you know
Yeah,
that
those
it is.
contracts are probably running out really soon,
Yeah.
and they're going to have to be like, well, we're the only place you can get Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
So
Yeah.
Even though we canceled that show.
Two original content, and for those of you who can't see us on camera, I'm using giant air quotes here. Programs that are going to be coming out for the Peacock Network are going to be a Battlestar Galactica remake done by Sam Ismail, who created and directed and everything, Mr. Robot.
Okay, the first part of that sentence was a remake of Battlestar Galactica, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. And then you tell me it's from the dude that made Mr. Robot, and I'm like, oh, but fuck, I do want that.
I do want that.
You had me at first.
I didn't even like. Okay, so it's probably an unpopular opinion right here. Battlestar Galactica, not a huge fan. But if anything,
Even the remake, because like the original I could get.
No, the remake. It was
The original is like it's bad. 70s
I think I went in
sci-fi.
expecting too much Star Trek, and I got a lot more not Star Trek.
You got a lot more. Everything sucks. We're constantly dying. We're in fear for our lives. The robots are attacking.
Yeah.
Oh, the robots are here. The robots are us.
I
Oh
think-
fuck, everything's bad.
I want to say that Battlestar Galactica remaking that is a bold choice in an era where we have The Expanse.
Indeed, it's a bold choice. I mean, when we have a lot of really interesting sci-fi right now,
I think that's actually why we might need this new Battlestar Galactica. Is the one good thing about the remake, the good Battlestar Galactica, was that it was able to tell this kind of intergalactic, international story, but it's really about Earth. It's
Right.
about the personalities and the political conflicts that we have, and the nations and the religious beliefs that we hold, and how those
Sounds so
don't
familiar.
necessarily get along. And I think that maybe we could also... Yeah, dude, the Expanse came out after fucking Battlestar, and that was in the original.
But it's still better. It's so much better.
That's fine.
Me and James are about to break out into Simpsons did it like over and over again.
Yeah, but then my answer to that is, well, Battlestar did it before them.
Yeah, they did.
It's true. But I'm of your mindset, Tony. I was like, I don't really know if I need Battlestar like remade. But then I
liked the last remake.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need this. But you're like, fuck, he made Mr. Robot, and that show was really good.
Mr. Robot is kind of impossibly good.
Yeah, if anybody's going to bring back Battlestar and like just really do it better and then not include those last two episodes.
This is the problem. All right, so this is I'm interested in this story and where it's going to go in the future as a series. The problem that I have with this is now Peacock, NBC, change that fucking name first off, has decided to get one good show and make a streaming service around it. And we've seen this with the fucking DC has theirs. They have one good show, and everything else just fucking sucks. And then maybe on this one we're gonna have one good show, and it's Battlestar Galactica, and everything else is fucking wasting my goddamn time.
CBS All Access is kind of doing the same thing. I mean, they poured a ton of money into Star Trek, the new one.
Yeah,
Discovery.
And Discovery's good.
That's what I hear.
I like it, but they made the smart choice of being like, okay, nearing our next season, we're just going to put all of that on Amazon so everybody can actually watch it, because no one's actually watching our show.
In the last 2 weeks, I've had this same conversation with 3 different groups of people. Nobody shared inside these groups about how there are so many streaming services and so many new ones coming down the pipe. And while everyone who I know has children is looking to get Disney, they're also all looking to lose one. And because we're all of a certain age, and none of us here endorse you committing any kind of internet crimes, nor do we admit to doing any. But
I've never done anything illegal in my entire life.
Exactly, me neither. But the point is that they're all saying, remember when we all used to just pirate everything? This is kind of This is just kind of throwing me into that direction. And the weird thing is, I keep saying I might just have to do it old school again lately, because right around 2012, Netflix was like $9 a month, and the hard drive space was expensive, and so like you just sign up for the service and you don't have to worry about it. Then you get one more, then you get one more. But now, I mean, it's too much.
Right now, it's $12 to $13 per streaming service, and if every channel that was on traditional cable or even over the air is now $12 a month, I'm quickly surpassing the average of $180 a month for
cable bill.
For cable bill. And I'm just kind of like,
that's the thing. That
maybe we just go back to cable, because I hated that.
No, cable sucks. I would rather have just a line of internet streaming subscriptions than like 12,000 ads a second.
Oh, I'm just looking at the hard drive space I need, because most of these channels or streaming services have download as an option.
Too far, I do need to mention there is a second original, in air quote, show they're going to be doing.
All right, what else
for the Peacock Network?
What is the one thing we probably don't care?
For the Bird Penis Network, they are bringing back Saved by the Bell. This is not new Saved by the Bell. This is
not Saved by the Bell, the new class.
No. This is Saved by the Bell. Everybody's older now.
Oh, right, dude, I am super for this.
Do they still hang out at the high school?
Hold on. Listen to
Zach Morris is going to be having many lawsuits against him for all the horrible shit he does to women.
Hold this thought, all right? Here we go. So the premise of this show is that Zach Morris is the governor of California, and he gets into hot water for closing too many low-income high schools.
Okay.
First off, just let that sentence sit in.
That's a total Zach Morris move.
Nobody seems to really be thinking about like how dark this premise is.
Remember the one time he bankrupted his teacher by committing stock fraud with their student class, cost her new car because he wanted to invest in potatoes.
Like, this is fucking dark, and we don't know if everybody's coming back. Not everybody said they're signed on yet for it, but.
I can guarantee you, Tiffany Amber Thiessen is going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass and just not going to sign on for maybe the first season.
Dude who plays Zach Morris actually said that he hasn't been approached about it yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, I just bring up because every time they've brought back anybody from the cast together, she's always been the one being like, no, I'm not doing it.
Right. Mark Paul Gosselaar, the last thing I saw him in was Weeds.
He's doing a couple things.
He had a TV show on USA for 4 years where he played a lawyer with the actor. I can't remember, but we both really like him. He was in... Fuck, I should have thought about this before I started talking.
That was it.
But he has been doing things.
Okay.
Yes, he's been doing lots of things.
Like USA Today, or did you, just your standard old people shows. That's still very formulaic.
He was on a procedural drama,
stuff like the
collegiate cop
Blacklist
drama too.
Jag.
Yeah, he was on one of those types
Law
of
and
things for
Order.
quite a while.
Yeah.
Either way, everybody that's in this show.
Yeah, he's going to be on the
it's
spinoff from Blackish. So
cool.
so,
I
yeah,
like.
he's
I like.
really
I
good.
mean, I like him as an actor. I think he's fun.
He's fine.
I think the character of Zach Morris was way funnier before I realized that
he's not a good person.
women and other people that aren't white males are people.
Yeah.
Because that was super not taught to you in that show.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. And also because I know that Dustin Diamond is a giant piece of shit as a human
Yeah.
being.
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to see him on TV anymore.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty selective about who they bring back.
I know Mario Lopez
yes,
is still
Mario
cool.
Lopez.
I think he has been confirmed actually.
Okay.
Mario Lopez, I'm pretty sure will show up to a book signing for people, not even his own book, like
Yeah.
just as Mario Lopez.
He's a working actor. Like if you pay him, he
Yeah,
will
no,
show
he
up.
he does those. I don't know it's NBC, but a lot of the live shows. He does a lot of those things.
I haven't seen Jesse in anything lately. Elizabeth something.
Brooklyn says he says that he needs to see AC Slater being a young retired athlete because of too many concussions. I can see
I would
that.
like to
Yeah.
see. I would like to. I like this
Well, he was a
darker
wrestler.
tone.
He was
he
a-
was a wrestler. I mean, it's just you're still gonna get hit in the head.
Yeah, no, not that's it's more of a football thing. It'd be probably a joint problem. Like he keeps throwing out his
Maybe,
back.
but
or
either way,
something.
I think that would be a good idea because we're obviously going down a darker path with Saved by the Bell. Maybe we just make everybody's lives equal shit.
Jesse Spano really got into that caffeine pill addiction.
Yeah.
And
oh Lord. Then she started a karaoke career. I don't know.
the more when I first read about this, I think I don't really want this. And the
I don't
more
want it at
And the
all.
more I think about it, I'm like, this could be just the train wreck that I want to see.
Well, like, imagine if they had done this with Fuller House. If they just like, okay, well, all three daughters are homeless now, and
Like they start with the they show the house at the beginning, and then it's like just on fire, and you're like,
Right.
well, DJ's actually doing very well, but her husband's abusive.
But the difference here
I
is
think with
that
another option, he's dead.
people still go back and watch like the original Full House, and they're like, this is still such a wholesome show.
No, yeah.
We who grew up with Saved by the Bell watched it as we were older and went, this whole show is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, everybody in the show is fucked up.
I grew up on both of these shows, and you quickly realize as an adult, if you go back and watch a single episode, that Full House was wholesome and wonderful and ABC and great, and that Saved by the Bell was what the fuck? Why did they let children watch
It
this?
was problematic as fuck. The main character does nothing but cheat and lie his way through high school.
Right. Like, it's ridiculous.
I mean, honestly, Zach Morris taught me how to be a person, so maybe that's what's wrong with me.
All right, that's everything we have for the news this week. We're going to take a small break, and when we come back, we'll be going to our main talking point in the Bosch Room.
Hey, Brooklyn, let's tackle today's matters with a remake of Family Matters. Way darker.
Family Matters was already a dark show when it wanted to be. So,
Well, it quickly turned into it was the dad and the nerd guy going on crazy adventures together because they found that they worked really well off
Did
of
you
each
say
other.
the nerd guy? Come on,
I
his name's
can't-
Steve Urkel.
I have a picture of my man on the fucking refrigerator.
know.
I fucking forgot his name, and I don't really want to waste more time thinking about it.
That's fair. Yeah, didn't they live in Chicago? And Carl was a police officer.
Yeah.
Like that would be a dark fucking show. That would be The Shield now.
Yeah, if you, let's go with like
Basically, just be a Die Hard movie.
Yeah.
Let's see, a middle-aged black cop in Chicago in 2019.
Yeah.
How's that going for society right now? Let's tell that story on
Yeah,
ABC.
Oh,
let's
Steve
not.
Urkel was walking down the street with something shiny. It was a robot he was making for class, but like 3 white cops shot him to death.
Yeah, that is
And that's the first episode.
Yeah.
right. Okay, let's talk about this weird thing.
Screech is Edward Snowden. Oh, that's a good idea. All right, we're ready for...
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fun. I want to make more of them, just so I can have like a new one every
We're not
week.
adding extra sections to the show.
No, I mean, I can literally just replace that every single week with
You
a
could
different
replace
thing.
it every week. Challenge accepted.
I mean, honestly, now that I know how to make them, it's really not that hard. I could take it like maybe a half an hour and be like, yeah, I'll get a new one. Hold on. Boss Room.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. We are in the Bosch Room. It's our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. This week, we're going to be talking about some interesting things that are afoot in France.
Mm-hmm.
So, a
Smurfs?
French court, those are afoot in France, I hear.
I mean, they're interesting, and they might be in France. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know where Smurfs live.
They might.
They live
They-
near.
they
They live
live
in a
in the
mushroom
garden.
village.
I mean,
yeah.
it
They're
could be
garden
anywhere.
gnomes.
No, they're not garden gnomes. They're Smurfs. They're two different things.
I don't want to start this with Smurfs aren't real, but like
garden gnomes were more of like a Germanic thing.
Yeah, I think maybe Smurfs are more French and
Wales has fairies and like
and then gnomes are more Germanic. They're in Germany, and then Smurfs are French.
But they're all just little people that live in gardens because that's what fairies were to the British too.
Well, they don't accept the ethnicity of like the people around them.
We're not getting to the real reason why they're different. Is because they all have different skin tone. There's your reason. They're all different skin tone. That's why they have to be different.
Yikes!
Yeah,
it's gonna be a fucking yikes for me, dog.
Seriously. All right, so let's talk about France. So, a French court this last week made a ruling about the legality of preventing users from reselling legitimately purchased digital games on Steam. Mm-hmm. So what the court is saying is that you as the individual user who has bought a game on Steam should be able to, once you have purchased that game, then resell your game on Steam.
Okay.
So that should be an option that is open to you. That I got done playing.
They do that with the hats on Steam, so why not?
You can just put up your like Wolfenstein 2 game and sell it for a certain amount of whatever imaginary money.
There's cards you get in the game. You can do that with them too. I don't see why it seems logical. Why don't we do this?
And this is a discussion that's been going on for a long time, right? This is something that gamers have often said, like, well, if digital's the future, then why not do it this way, right? Why not have your GameStop trade in for a game that you've played once and decided that's all you're
I just remembered something that was really this topic was brought up at the beginning of the current console generation when Microsoft said, "Hey, basically all of our games are going digital." And you can just sell your licenses to anybody.
Games were still being played on disc back then, and they were saying no used discs.
Now, this isn't
Look what we're talking about. Steam, a digital collection.
And I'm about to tell you why it's a fucking horrible idea.
And Microsoft said at the beginning, if you buy a game digitally, guess what? You can just sell your digital license.
So let's put our dicks away for a second. So just to clarify, just because this court has discussed this and has been making rulings on it, does not mean that tomorrow we're going to be able to resell our digital games.
No, of course not.
Right? So what I want to do in kind of talking about this conversation is really go into kind of a pro and con discussion about it. Like what does this bring to the table, this idea that you could sell back a digital game that's for better or for worse? Right. There's a lot of factors we have to consider.
Yeah, let's talk about first off. There's not necessarily a reselling, but there is a certain amount of time played before you can just return the game to Steam. That's
2 hours.
It's 2 hours. Okay, I don't know. I've never returned one, so I've never had to look.
2 hours. After 2 hours, you can no longer return the game.
Yeah, so makes sense. I mean, you don't even get that at GameStop. If you open that up, they're like, "Cool, we'll buy it back, but for 25 cents."
Right.
When you just spent 60. So at least they're giving you 2 hours to test a game to see if you like it. They're not stopping you from making another account and playing another 2 hours and doing the exact same thing over and over again. I think that's good. And I think that maybe it's just a continuation of that already existing process where you've played a game for a certain amount of time, and it will degrade in quality, let's say air quote, which means the amount of money you're going to get back. If you put 150 hours in there, like, yeah, 25 cents, you played the shit out of that. But if you put 4 hours in, you can't return it anymore. And they're like, yeah, we'll put $20 in your account for that. Maybe that's where they will have to go. I don't know. It's an option.
That right there, what you just described, is the problem with this entire thing. It is the most, what you just said is the most arbitrary set of rules for something that makes no sense. Brooklyn just right now mentioned this in chat. Digital products do not have a stock limit, and they do not degrade with play. So there's no reason for the price to drop if I'm selling it to someone else versus when I bought it. It's the exact same thing I bought. I should be able to turn around and sell it for the exact same amount. Here's the problem. No one will ever let me do that. So I can either... So you have two options with Steam.
That's the
when
nature
it comes
of resale markets.
Right. You have... The problem with this is you have two options when you do this with the public. They buy a license from you, from Steam. They either can then, on the Steam marketplace, which already exists, sell it to some rando for whatever price they want, or they can only sell it back to you and only you get to distribute used licenses for a game. At that point, the entire market is fucked. Either way you do that, the entire market is fucked.
No.
Well, I mean, we just talked a month or so back about G2A and the gray market for game licenses.
Exactly. So, I mean, Steam, like, a game launches, and instantly there's a new and a used version that you can click either button. One's cheaper, and it's literally the exact same price.
Oh, no, my example was just an example of how they could implement it. Because it seems like this is something that's going to have to be implemented at some point, because a country will say you have to do it.
Well, here's my
or they're going to have to say we're going to have to go to another option, which is going, guess what? You're buying a license to this. If you want to get rid of that license, that's impossible. You purchase that license.
Yeah, you're not buying at that point. You were buying access to a thing
because it is no longer physical good.
Right,
and the ownership of it. It's what Google is doing with Stadia. You do not own any of the games that you are playing on Stadia, even though you're paying the full retail price of it. Because they're going to shut off the service 3 months after they start it.
Yeah, and my whole problem with the entire makeup of this conversation is if France decides that Steam has to let you resell your games because you own them, all Steam has to do, instead of go through all the trouble of trying to figure out the nightmare puzzle that this market would be, is go, oh, well, you don't own the games.
Yeah. Which, in turn, screws over everybody who's ever had a giant Steam library.
Yeah, there's a thing going on right now on the Microsoft Xbox beta. I think I mentioned this last week. The Xbox app on my PC. I pay for it. I pay the monthly fee. I have Gears of War 5 installed on my computer through that app. I play it. Now, I don't technically own the game, according to Microsoft. And there is a consequence to that.
Yes, we haven't talked about.
Oh yeah,
that.
we didn't get to this part of it.
There is a consequence to that. I went into my files. I know exactly where this app installs games on my hard drive. I went to go get into that file because I needed to point something at the exe. It's a program that changes the lights on my keyboard so that when I'm playing a game, it'll shift to something less distracting. You know, so.
Yeah, a lot of like the Nvidia has a thing launched into it.
I do that for every game that I play. I cannot do that for Gears of War 5. I do not have access to the folder it's installed in. I am not allowed to get in there and change anything. I'm not allowed to do anything except use the app to install that folder and uninstall that folder.
See, I can right-click
I didn't know
on
that folder.
I've installed quite a few games from the service on my PC, but I've never gone in to change the exe because I never gave a shit.
It won't let you open the folder. I cannot see the exe. I can right-click on the folder and check my permissions, ask me if I'm the administrator, which I motherfucking am.
Yeah.
And even then, I can't change the permissions for that folder. That folder is owned by Microsoft.
I mean, it makes sense. They have to do things like that because what would stop one person from getting an account and going, cool, here's the entire install of this game and giving it away for free?
EA has this. They don't do that. Blizzard has this. They don't do that. Microsoft, as far as I know, is the only people doing this on PC. I had the EA Origin access for months, and all of the games, I mean, I could get into those folders and change shit around. Yeah. I could use Cheat Engine to access values if I wanted to. That's the joy of playing a game on a PC. But
that's one of the things Microsoft didn't want people doing cheats like that. They wanted to limit things like that. This is their version of DRM, essentially.
Right, but I mean, this is very different from keeping me from cheating online. If I bought a single player game from them and I found, like, say it's The Witcher 3 and there are mods that, allow me to change how much money mobs drop because I feel like they were a little stingy with that. I can't even open the folder, much less change any of those things, and that's a single-player game. The problem is, this is for every game I install on my Xbox app, and some of them are going to end up being single-player games. Metro Last Light. Metro Exodus, the new one.
You literally just named every single game in the
They're
Metro
great games,
series.
Play them all. But Metro Exodus is a single-player game, and I cannot so much as look inside of that folder.
Yeah, versus things, let's say, the Fallout, where you can go in, where the game actually has a built-in editor where you can literally go, give me more bullets, and it does. Because that's the way Bethesda designed it. I totally get what you're saying, and I also understand Microsoft's reasoning for saying, we're going to lock you out of this, because it is a monthly subscription service, and those games go away, much like Netflix. But unlike Netflix, where you can't download the thing, well, except for on your phone and other places, even on theirs, it'll have a timer where it's like, hey, this is going to delete itself at a certain point in time. These games have to be uninstallable without you working on it.
Right.
So Microsoft had to put a way in there to go, hey, we are going to make this whenever this switch hits, we uninstall this for you because it's no longer in the library.
Right.
And I get why it's there.
Well, I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they're overreaching, greedy fuckers. they're controlling fuckers is what I should say. Overreaching.
This isn't really a greed
fuckers.
thing. This is more about control.
Because Steam has had this option forever, and it never has done it. And what was going on in France? The reason that I'm bringing this up is that is the future we're heading towards if we force Steam to let us do things like resell a digital license. A digital license is just that. It's nothing. It is vapor. It is ones and zeros on several computers somewhere in the world. And at some point we have to ask ourselves what we're really buying. For the same reason I can't resell a can of oxygen. I can't resell a digital license because, I mean, what am I even selling you at this point?
I do agree. Digital licensing as a not key based, not because keys are limited. Brooklyn brought that up in chat, and I was like, yeah, that's a thing we have to talk about. Is digital keys are a limited supply. Companies generally make a limited number of that.
They have to license each.
They have a because it's licensed for each individual key, and those keys come with a value attached to them. Something like Steam, where they're not key based, where you're literally just pressing buy and there's no key attached.
Well, there's always a key attached to every Steam game.
In this instance that I'm explaining, there's
Okay.
no key attached, so that equals no resale value. If it was a key-based thing where you went to G2A or something and they bought those licenses, they can sell them for however the fuck much they want.
Right.
But if it's Steam and these are released through Steam, on Steam, backend, and fucking everything, where they are the launcher, they are the everything, which is most Steam games.
Yeah.
They're not going to be doing that key-based system, so they can go, no, it's not worth anything. It's not resellable. It's you're locked to that
I just
purchase
think that
unless you play it for less than 2 hours or 2 weeks,
Yeah.
at which point you can give it back to us.
I think that on paper, going and being able to resell your Steam games feels like, oh yeah, like when you think about it, just on the surface level,
Yeah.
when you don't dig deep, you're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea.
My
I
first
totally
thought
wanna
is
do
like
that.
cha-ching. I have like 500 games on Steam, and
Yeah,
I don't
right.
play like 400 of them.
Yeah, at the
Right,
very
exactly.
beginning, I immediately was like, yeah, this is how you could do it. Because I didn't think about this. I was like,
Right.
whatever, yeah, fucking, here's an example. Sure, go
Right,
with it. I
but
don't
as you
fucking give a
deep dive
shit.
into it more and more, you see that there could be some really shady practices that can happen. People that buy large quantities of games or keys and then like resells them at a bottom rate or something.
It'll happen
like that.
immediately. If that was the case, if people could sell the game to each other for whatever price,
Yeah.
the first thing someone would do was buy like 1,000 copies of the game, put them out on the market for less money, and make all of that money
And we're
because
not
they
even-
bought them in the first place
and
with
we're-
All right,
some
Brooklyn brings another
ill-gotten
point. What about
something.
games that are delisted? Games that Steam has decided are no longer fit to be on their servers.
So
they
DuckTales is his example. It was delisted.
Okay, I didn't know that, but that's not really for the reason why I was going to say. I was thinking about all the hentai games, not DuckTales. Cause,
No, well, DuckTales is a really important one because DuckTales was the game a lot of people liked. I really
yeah, I like DuckTales. My license is on my Xbox. I have it installed, I think.
Yeah.
But what happens to those games? What happens to PT whenever, or the hentai games where they're like, yeah, we can't do this anymore. But somebody goes, well, I have 1,000 copies of it and I'm putting it up on your fucking store and fuck you.
Yeah.
What are they just gonna be like? Well, you can't do that either, and you're like, well, now I've got 1,000 fucking keys and no place to sell them. I guess I'll start my own website selling these keys that don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, where does this lie? Which I think the end result turns into the one that we don't like, and that is
We don't own anything.
we don't own anything.
And I feel like this
Yeah.
really does kind of come down to a problem we see very often in the video game community. And that's that when things like this go to courts, there are not enough people there that have a solid enough understanding of the economics behind it, the process of all of it, all the things that we're discussing on this panel. The people that are deciding this stuff aren't the people that are sitting down listening to our podcast trying to understand this aspect of it. They're just going, no, you should be able to resell that because you own it.
Yeah, you bought a
Yeah.
thing. Why couldn't you resell
Well,
it
because
yourself?
I mean, think about it. If your job is to sit there and go through the economics of a country every day to make sure people are alive and can defend themselves and and live for prosperity, you're thinking about a billion fucking things that are going around
Right.
that you constantly have to pay attention to, and you go,
You're not thinking about reselling hentai
yeah,
games.
you're going like, I can't resell my big titty anime girl game, and somebody goes, you should be able to do that. I've got to worry about this, so let's fix that one over there.
Right.
It's too much. And I get why they can't pay attention to the nuances like we are right now, because, well, there's an entire world out there that's way more important than this.
And again, let's forget that no mechanism for what we're talking about exists. There's a reason that I was able to sell my World of Warcraft character way back in the day, which was totally against TOS and all that.
Oh, let's talk about the black market for Diablo items. Back in the day.
Like I was able to sell my World of Warcraft character for almost $500, but that's because we worked out a way for me to give him my account, which is not easy. There is no mechanism in place for me to give you my copy of The Witcher 3 to play. It's not there. It's not there at all. So what we would be doing essentially was being like, hey, Steam, you need to get your ass to work and program this. Because it has to be there. I mean, it's nonsense. And instead, they'd probably much rather do the thing that requires no effort and say, well, we're just going to lock it all down.
And the fact of the matter is that human beings, as wonderful as we can be and as creative as we can be, as soon as we can find a way to make money, we're going to find the most like ridiculous way to make some money.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, you can sell like Steam keys or, whatever. People are going to find ways. Like, the gray market will become
you're always
so
going to
big.
find a way to game the system.
Yeah.
I think it was I think it was
G2A.
Andrew Yang. I heard say this the other day or something. Somebody like that. They were saying that there's a finite amount of opportunity in the world for like success and growth and stuff like that. There is an infinite amount of possibilities for you to take people's money.
Right.
There's an infinite amount of possibilities for you to scam somebody. That's why that's so prevalent in the world. Yeah. And when Steam is forced to open up a market like this, especially if they have to do it quickly without really thinking it all through, they're just opening themselves up to being fucked over and over and over again.
Let's look at the Steam marketplace as it exists right now, which is still full of copies of games that already exist previously, and people are just ripping off assets from them.
Yeah. All kinds of cards, all kinds of everything.
The Steam marketplace in itself is fucking ridiculous and broken, and honestly needs kind of an enema.
There's a bunch of artifact items. You guys remember Artifact?
What I'm saying
nobody
is...
remembers it because nobody played it.
That came out this year, too.
Steam can't get their own shit together to make their own economy system work, let alone inventing a new economy for reselling games for... Think about how many games are being added to Steam right now. There's one. There's one.
Oh, that was like
there's
12.
One. Yeah. Every time.
At least 18 hentai ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I purchased every single one of them while we were talking.
You're just basically on an auto-buy system for those.
Yeah, no, it's like big titty anime chicks, just buy all.
Yeah.
I have my Steam set up magically. It's
At a certain threshold, you should just learn to draw boobs yourself. It's more economical.
I like it when other people do it for me.
That's fair.
Less satisfaction having to do it yourself.
Phrasing.
It's like which would you rather do, or it's which one? Which one?
This is why you should watch us on Twitch.com/thesurlynerd so you can
Twitch.tv/thesurlynerd.
Yeah, because that was a lot funnier on video.
There's a lot of Tony lewd gestures. So let's kind of just boil this whole thing in. I know that we've been being kind of silly about it. Let's get some final thoughts in about this and really just kind of flesh this out, because I know it's such a bizarre topic, but I felt like it had, like when I was talking to you about this earlier this week, Hector, I'm like, this has to be our main topic.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so outlandish that like we have to sit down and make this like a panel discussion.
Yeah.
And honestly, I get I get why France is doing, like, trying to put this out there. But honestly, I think the only answer is Steam going, just fuck it. Well, you don't own this shit anymore, and we're sorry, but fuck you.
Yeah. I think we as gamers need to just go ahead and have a come to Jesus moment when we talk about what we really own when we buy a game, what really is ours, and how you can't really compare it to a table you built that you're trying to sell, or your car that you're trying to get fair market value for. This isn't the same thing.
Maybe Steam can go over to Microsoft and go, how are you guys planning to do this for the Xbox? Because we don't know what the fuck we're doing, and they're forcing us to do it.
Right.
And Microsoft be like, hold on, let me dust off this fucking book from 10 years ago when we told you this was the future.
Yeah.
And
the certain mediums have always come with the caveat that you can't use them in certain ways because you don't really own that. But back when VHS became prevalent, there were warnings at the beginning of every VHS tape that said, if you pay people to come to your house and watch this, that is illegal. That's a federal crime. We will find you. We will find you taken style.
days ago sent me a picture, just like, Facebook message of just like their TV, and it was the FBI warning with the message of, when was the last time you saw one of these? And I was like, fuck, that was a long goddamn
The last time
ago.
I watched a movie on a disc.
Just like, damn, that was ages ago.
And they were all warnings telling you about how you could and could not repurpose this product you bought for your own financial gain.
Yep.
Yeah, you can take your DVD and you can sell it back to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or whatever the fuck, but you cannot hold viewings in your house for money. And
without buying certain licensing to do that.
Exactly. There were ways to get that, which is what
we have
Twitch
a
is.
small drive-in theater here in Austin where they put on double features multiple times a week, and these are movies that are on DVD.
Yeah.
And it's a little small screen. It's meant to have like 15 cars show up. It's an enjoyable little thing to go do. In fact, we need to go do it soon because they're gonna be doing all the Halloween stuff really soon,
that sounds
and we
fun.
can get to go watch all these fucking horror movies in a car.
Nice.
But what I'm saying is they can't just put those DVDs on their player
Right.
and show them because they're charging money for us to come in. They have to have a licensing thing with whatever company that has the license to those movies, because who the fuck knows for half of these anymore. And there's pretty much just like a place where you're like, yeah, we're paying you money. Here's $20. We're gonna make 500. Fine, you're happy with that. We don't fucking care. But they have to do that. Alamo has to do that when they do their Rolling Road show. They have to
Yep.
get the licensing. When you have a theater, you still have to get the license to show the damn movie because that's how it fucking works.
And maybe that's what it is. It's that you have to have a show license to show a movie to people.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to have some kind of seller's license to sell your digital games. I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like that even needs to
It doesn't
exist.
seem feasible.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem feasible.
Yeah, no, it honestly, I really wish I had more information about what Microsoft had planned for the Xbox One whenever they first came out, because they're like, hey, yeah, this is the way you're going to be able to exchange your digital licenses, and it could be resold like 3 times. Was
Right.
the future, and they're like,
But I feel like
we don't know what what information holds and how that could be
coming
used.
back to this Microsoft
Yes,
argument.
because they're the only people that has brought up the ability to resell
Yes,
these codes
right,
ever
but
before.
The point that you're missing is that when Microsoft announced this, the Microsoft store was basically nothing.
Yeah. And the fact that everyone fucking hated this idea.
Don't-
Everyone
don't-
hated
ignore,
this idea.
Ignore the hating
Yeah,
part.
ignore
what
the
I'm,
hating
what I'm
part.
saying is my main point is that when this happened, the Microsoft store was in its infancy.
That's true.
Yes.
Right. Well, the big thing we keep talking about is that Steam trying to implement this now. It'd be so difficult because of the size of it. Microsoft
Okay.
Store is growing and growing and growing, and the larger it grows, the harder it becomes. To
So this
implement
is
an idea like
something I've been doing a lot of animation stuff that possibly people will see soon because I'm getting closer and closer to making it a product that's not bad. When you are learning something new, when you're creating a new skill, just because someone else is 5 years ahead of you doesn't mean that what they're doing isn't obtainable by you. You have to start at the same playing field. Microsoft 10 years ago said, this is how we want to do the thing. And while their store may have been in its infancy, they were trying a new idea. Now, Steam is going, fuck, we've got this massive store, and we're being forced to do this idea that we don't know how to do. Maybe we watch the YouTube video that Microsoft made explaining you how to move a slidey thing across the screen, because that's what I've been doing, and it fucking works sometimes. You'd have to take baby steps to get to where you want to go.
Sure.
And whenever the only place that has the step is Microsoft, you kind of have to fucking go to them, because nobody else has brought this up before.
Right, but I'm not saying that it's not impossible. I'm saying that as a store gains exposure and has more concurrent users, trying to implement something like this without basically people just running you out of business because they will figure out a way around it becomes more difficult. It worked for it was a great idea for Microsoft when they announced it 5 years ago, because their store was baby sized and they could do checks and balances for every little person who went and did something like this. They could say, like, if they see somebody abusing the system, they go, no, slap your hand, go away. And they would figure out a way over time to purge and keep the
But
store
again,
healthy.
we don't know what their original idea was,
No.
because all we got was the E3 press conference that Sony poo-pooed on.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all we had was people going, I don't like change. And here we're fucking in the future going, fuck, that's the change.
No, it's not. That's not what's going to happen. That's what I keep trying to tell. The point I keep trying to make is that this will never ever happen. Steam, like any company,
It's gonna take the easy option out.
Any company in the world that is driven by profits what Steam definitely is, will look at a situation like this and be like, well, we could save like, I don't know, like $37 a year if we just fired every employee we had and just hired a bunch of people in Mexico. Let's do that. So Steam will either say you don't own your games, or in even a more drastic move will be like, I guess there's no Steam in France now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the most extreme one.
But
the easiest
it would
answer
also
is
be
changing
much
their end user.
cheaper.
Yeah, their end the easiest one for worldwide is getting the end user license agreement, going in there, getting your lawyer to write up a thing saying you don't own this, and if you want to play any of your games in your library, you have to agree that you do not own this.
Yeah.
And they can make it as
you know what?
legal as they fucking want.
Brooklyn has a good point, though. If this actually, in some weird reality where this actually did happen, Steam's going to take a big chunk of these user resales.
They take a big chunk of the cards you sell.
It's GameStop. It's the you just opened that. I will give you 25 cents. Like you get nothing for this. Yeah. Honestly, they could do that. They'd be like, yeah, you can resell your license to us. You're going to get a penny, and that's all you're going to get forever. You can sell it directly to us for 1 cent.
Right. Well, they can sell you the game for $50, and then when you sell it to a guy, you can only sell it to him for 25. But Steam gets 12.
My understanding of what they were saying in France was that they have to put a system in to be able to resell them, and they can say the only way you can resell this is directly to us.
Yeah.
That your resale market is the people who you bought it from.
But that doesn't make any sense because
it's easier to implement than trying to sell it to somebody else.
Steam, again, we come to the problem of Steam game on launch day. Here's the game, buy it. Here's a used code, buy it. Where did these used codes come from?
That's the thing is they could say there is no used codes. There is you bought the license,
so you can sell your games back to Steam,
but for 1 cent.
They're not selling them.
And they will just go, cool. We're never going to. It's just it's since because digital codes don't fucking exist. We just go, yeah, that's not even a pile of numbers. That's literally a zero pile of zeros. So you can just go, nothing from the nothing pile equals nothing. We gave you a penny. You gave us $59.99. Look, who's a fucking idiot. And you can't play the
game anymore.
And you can't play the game. That, honestly, is the easiest answer for me because they whenever France was talking about this, they said you have to make a way to resell your game, not necessarily who you can resell it to.
That's true.
They can't implement it and say, because again, they can do the legal thing of saying, fuck it, you're only allowed to license your games, you do not own them, and that's an option as well.
Sure.
But it depends on kind of which one they go, and I kind of like the 1 penny one, not just because I came up with it, because it's kind of the biggest fuck
dickish,
you to everybody.
So this is a really complicated issue that has a lot of layers. It's probably going to have a much more simple and elegant solution than we're kind of laying out here. That being said, we'd love to hear your thoughts on any of this. If you're curious about, if you'd like to be able to resell your games to Steam, please let us know. Tony, where can they find us?
What if whenever you resell them, all they do is give you a hat?
There you go.
You get a hat
based on the game.
you
so it's like once you finish the game, it's like, I want the hat.
That's the bigger fuck you.
No, it's not, because the biggest flaw there is that those hats are actually worth money.
Fuck, that is true. So you could buy
and
some
you'd
weird
get a special hat
game.
if you platinum the game.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Hey, this is working out for Steam.
Yeah.
All right. So we're on twitch.tv/thesillionerd. Like, share with your friends. Monday about 7:30 Central. We're going to be taking a week off in 1 week, I believe. For
soon.
Moving the apartment soonish.
I'll let you guys figure it out.
We'll let you know on facebook.com/thesillionerd when we're going to be doing that, and also Twitter's @thesillionerd, where you'll find out whenever we are or are not doing a show, because new studio and living space and all that. So things are changing. Things are afoot. We're looking at making some changes to the show. I'll have some new content. I'm putting a fucking pin on it. I have to have it done by next Monday.
Nice.
I will have a thing. It might be fucking awful.
It's okay.
But it's going to be on our YouTube page and maybe just playing for 10 hours on-stop on Twitch because I can do that. Yeah, I think that'll be fun. info@thesillionerd.com if you want to email us. This has gone on long enough.
All right.
I've talked enough.
That's everything that we have for this week. Until next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, it's Tony.
And I'm Hector.
Adventurers, good night.
And good game. I really hope when we change things up, I don't have to completely turn my head to the fucking side to be able to stop this with my left hand.
That's the layout ideas that you want.
I can be on the right. I can be on the right hand side with my right hand touching things with the thing that I'm good with.
Thank you, Twitch, for sticking with us.
Thank you, Twitch. Y'all are cool.
We love you guys.
All right, I'm gonna sign us out. Good night.